Hi, everybody. We are this year's James W Dow interns, and we're going to share a little presentation and video with you all about our summer. Let's see. Okay. So, as I said, we are this year's James W Dow interns. This is us with Jim Dow himself.
So since we already wrote traditional bios in the first newsletter from Blue Hill Heritage Trust this summer, we thought we'd write a little more personal, a little more fun ones this go around. So hello, my name is Calvin. I'm from Blue Hill. I currently attend the University of Minnesota at Morris, studying geology and biology. I'll be a junior there. My internship was fully funded by the Jeannie Becton Fund. Outside of work, I love rock climbing. I'm at Volta climbing gym in Trenton almost every day of the week. And I believe ranch dressing improves every food that it comes into contact with. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Hi, my name is Chloe. I am currently attending Bowdoin College. I'm going to be a sophomore in the fall, and I'm studying environmental studies and government and legal studies. Some fun things. I'm playing on the Bowdoin women's rugby team, and I've really enjoyed learning that. I'm funded completely through Bowdoin and the Jeannie Becton Fund. And I like sailing kombucha and climbing trees. And I'm Claire. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. I just graduated in May with my BA in Environment and Sustainability from Swanee in Tennessee. I am fully funded through the operational budget thanks to many generous donors. And I like butterflies, small farms, and cool birds. So in preparation for all the trail work and trail maintenance we did this summer, our very first day, we learned how to use the weed whacker, the hedge trimmers, and the mower. And those were the primary three things that we used just in our everyday trail maintenance stuff. And then later on in the summer, we also got trained on how to use the chainsaw from Sandy, which was super cool. We got to attend a chainsaw training day that the trust hosted for small landowners. That was awesome. We learned a lot of new skills. We learned how to fell a tree, and we got to practice. So yeah. Later on in the summer, we learned how to drive the tractor, which was awesome. And we learned how to use the brush hog attachment so that we could mow Surrey Forest and Meadowbrook. And a little bit of informal intern training. I learned how to drive stick from one of our donors, Russ Brooks, on his 1993 truck. We also, another training we received was wilderness first aid training. So most of the Blue Hill Heritage Trust office in early August took a course in wilderness first aid and got certified in Blue Hill. We had a really great time and we got a ton of hands-on experience, as you can see from the photos here. Calvin and I are in a couple of them lying down, looking sort of dead, but we're only minorly injured. Calvin got a broken leg in the bottom corner. He's good now. It was a fun experience. And I learned a lot that I will continue to use for the rest of my life. Another big part of this summer was trail maintenance. So the Blue Hill Heritage Trust has a lot of trails. And during the summer, there's a lot more traffic on them because of many people who come up here for the summer. So maintaining the trails is a really important job. We weed whacked and mowed grass along the sides of the trails. And at the beginning, we hedge trimmed branches sticking over into the trails and hedges that had grown in. And we cut down a couple of trees that were hanging over the sides that were small enough for us to manage. And one of the more non-traditional trail maintenance things we did was we helped to rebuild a water bar on the Osgood Trail during one of Andrew's volunteer days, which was really interesting. We learned a lot about erosion and how to correctly build water bars. So we had a lot of fun.
So in addition to trail maintenance, we did do some trail building. This occurred on the Penny's Preserve property and Walton Matogus Mountain, the soon-to-be trail up there. And a lot of this had to do with managing erosion control and building just flat surfaces that are going to be stable and last for a while. And so at Penny's, a lot of this had to do with building bog bridging and building kind of check steps up hills to prevent the trails from turning into trenches and carving into the hills. And over at Walnatogus, a lot of that had to do with removing organic matter and just building down to like the hard packed mineral soil, which won't erode away and will last for a while. Another thing we had to do was learn how to store our tools, safely, so hikers still using the trail aren't going to fall into holes or walk over sharp objects. And yeah, we learned a lot and it was all very successful.
We also learned how to write grants with Chrissy. We each wrote a grant for the accessible trail that we're going to be creating on the Edge Hill property in Sargentville. Chrissy mentored us through this. We got some good examples of grants we could write, and then we each compiled our own information that our grant needed and wrote about why this was so important to have funding for, and answered all their questions, such as like what climate change adaptations we were building into this and how it served an educational purpose and how it served our community. And it was a really, really good skill to get, and we had a good time doing it. So we also got to work with George a little bit more on the conservation side of things. So what this looked like this summer was we helped him with a new potential project for a conservation easement. And in case anyone's unaware, conservation easement is when a private landowner can permanently protect their land by signing a legal agreement that we're not going to develop on this land, we're not going to unsustainably harvest timber, anything like that. And in order to ensure that this lasts for many, many years in perpetuity, you have to create a baseline document, which essentially shows a snapshot in time of exactly what the property looks like going into protection so that it can remain that way. And you can look at that baseline in the future and say, oh, this boundary line is, yes, under protection, it's ours. So what it meant for us is going out in the field, taking lots of photos of the property, walking the boundary line, and documenting really well what it looks like. We also helped to develop a little bit of the language in the actual legal document to help it fit more specifically to our property.
So with that knowledge, we did go out and we monitored the King Hill Farm easement property and another property as well in Blue Hill. At King Hill Farm, we walked the property line. We looked for encroachment from other property owners around the area. We looked for like new development to see if there was any, permanent versus impermanent development in areas that just we weren't aware of. And we photographed a lot to keep as a record for next year. Another activity that we did is we went with Sandy to the Surrey Meadowbrook property and we did forest plots. To do this, we would walk to a random coordinate point out in the woods and we would create a circle with a 50-foot radius and we would catalog all the trees within the circle. We identified the tree species, we tagged and numbered it, and we identified what its commercial use would be. So, be that pulp or boards. And we worked in a ton of different forested settings, to more recently log to older growth. This was a lot of fun, and a lot of the past interns did not like this, but it was probably our favorite thing to do this summer.
Here's some more photos. So in addition to forest plots, we also did wetland inventory. This was in Surrey Forest, so we went to the site where an old road used to run through the wetland before the trust owned the property. And since the trust has acquired the property, they've been trying to restore the ecosystem, so the road has been removed. And now we're looking at that area where the road was and inventorying all the plant species in it every year. So how we do this is we get 50 random points within the area and we look at all the species in a 1x1 meter frame and we identify the species, and that point might be just in the shorter grasses, easy to look around, or it might be in the middle of a pond, small pond. So yeah, it was An exciting day. We got a little wet, but yeah, hopefully the data that we collected can help build out a better picture of how this ecosystem is healing and restoring. And we also did a lot of outreach this summer. So all three of us went to farmers markets on Saturdays and got to meet members of the community and sell merchandise, that kind of thing. We also got to go to some of the local schools, Brooksville Elementary School and the Brooklyn School, and work with kids from, as young as like 6 to middle school, and do games and activities with them, designed to enhance their nature observational skills and outdoor vocabulary, that kind of thing. We also got to go to farm tours, which was super awesome. I learned a ton about organic farming, small local farms, and how they're adapting to things like climate change, deer problems, that sort of thing. We also got to help out at the Blue Hill Mountain Trail Fest, which we'll touch on more in a minute. And we did all the PR for the summer's events. So putting out the advertisements and that kind of thing to newspapers and radio stations around. So those were the public events we got to attend. We also got to attend some private events. And one of those was kayaking on the salt pond, which was super fun. I met a lot of the donors that way. We also got to help set up and attend the party at Hatch Cove in Castine. So what this looked like was installing a new kiosk, building log bridges, setting up tiki torches along the path, and then we actually got to go and enjoy the party and meet lots of donors and friends of the trust, which was awesome.
So each year's interns has to host an event, and so ours was a full moon hike on Blue Hill. We organized all the PR for this event in the months prior, and then we arrived early to help direct traffic and organize parking. We also led groups up to the overlook to Acadia. And so we had groups go either up the Hayes Trail or the Service Trail. And we all met at that overlook. The trail counters had about 120 people, counted within those few hours. And yeah, and the weather cooperated, and we were able to see the moon come up, and it all went very well.
We also got to help out with the Blue Hill Mountain Trail Fest, which happened a couple weeks ago. It was a 5K, a 10K, and a 50K race up and down Blue Hill Mountain in some figure eights. It was a really good time. And so to prepare for this, we mowed out the big field at the bottom, not the whole field, but a little section of it, so that people could stand around, we could put up tents, and band could play. And we also did some flagging up and down the post office trail for the runners so that they could know where they were going. Calvin had one of the harder jobs. He got to the mountain at 4:30 a.m. on the race day, and he stood on a corner and directed the runners so that they would know where they were going when they started the race at 5 a.m. for the 50K. Claire and I got there at 7:30. We helped out. We did the same thing as Calvin, but for the 10K runners. And we set up little tables with temporary tattoos and a nature scavenger hunt for kids who maybe had just finished their race or who were waiting for their parents to finish. It was a really good time. Everyone enjoyed running down the mountain. We also had some pretty good weather. Yeah. And another activity we did this summer was hiking every Blue Hill Heritage Trust trail in one day. We sort of brainstormed this idea at the beginning of the summer, and we decided to actually do it a bit ago. We had a really good time. We took an entire day for this. We met at 5 a.m. at the office and hiked to Blue Hill Mountain for the sunrise. And then we started in Surrey and we worked our way all the way down to Castine. We ended up hiking all or part of all of 22 trails. We went 23 miles total, and it took us about 13 hours. So we ended at 6 p.m. in Castine, and then we went to get a celebratory ice cream at Tinderhearth afterward. And we thought we would tell everyone what our favorite trails were from that day. So mine was Bluffhead in Sedgwick.
Mine was Meadowbrook Forest in Surrey.
And mine was Surrey Forest.
Here's some more photos.
for our day. It was really fun and we took a lot. So other than the things that we've mentioned in this slideshow, we have done a lot of different activities this summer working at the Trust. A couple of them were we hiked Penny's Nature Preserve with the trail stewards there, Joe and David. We learned all about Penny's Preserve and the trails on it, and also what it means to be a trail steward for the Trust, which I found really interesting. We also got to hike with Hans in Surrey Forest, and we learned a lot more about his job and everything that he knows about the Trust, which was really cool.
And so also just here are some pictures of things that we did on our hike of every property, and just some of the programs that we went to outside of that. We have Sandy's dog Foxy looking really cute at our chainsaw training. We have Chloe crossing Peters Brook in a rather unconventional manner. Chloe navigating a swamp, and then a blue spotted salamander, which we found in our garden here. And then in the lower right-hand corner, we have a moose track at the Green Bee property in Castine.
Yeah, so as you can tell, not every day was a super hard day of work. Some days we'd come and go all swim in the ocean together as staff, or George would take us on a grand adventure around Deer Isle. Here we had just walked around all of Bard Island, and he took us to the main center for coastal fisheries, and we got to see some cool rare lobsters and learn all about the lobster fishery. And there in the bottom right hand corner is George and us interns at the top of Blue Hill Mountain. We climbed Blue Hill Mountain with Jim Dow. So yeah, it was a ton of fun this summer. We all had such a fun time and learned so many skills beyond just, I know I learned way more than I thought I was going to learn. Practical skills, skills related to conservation. And yeah, we had so much fun outside of work as well, all thanks to the donors that made this internship possible for us, and who really hold this trust and help it to be what it can. So we're going to share a little video.
First time I Be careful. Let's do it.